everyone, we're back, and I've got two of the coolest dudes of Calling Lyon. The coolest, I know. Not only are they winning and running up, they're just generally awesome, right? We've got Pablo, of course, the winner, and we've got Connor, the runner-up, the man from Ireland that sold it all, and everyone was in the UK, and everyone was, no offense, Pablo, right, but you know, the UK, and all of us are like, oh, come on, my boy.
No offense, Pablo, but a whole country hates you.
Look. If it's the UK, you know the world is against the world is against the UK. But I watched that World Cup, right? I tweet, and you're right, yeah. Well done, Pablo. You're right. The Spanish did whip our ass, right? Well, clearly won. But I did see a very fun meme of the World Cup final. The whole of Europe supports Spain, and only England supports England. Anyway, regardless, well done, guys. And I wanted to start off with you, Connor. How it's your first time getting into a sort of top 8, top 4, now a runner-up of a calling. How does it feel?
Yeah, so I mean, ridiculous, surreal. I don't know. Like, I'm still kind of half expecting to like wake up half asleep on Sunday morning, being like, "Oh shit, I've got a day 2 to play. I'm probably gonna get like destroyed." But instead, what actually happened was I got up, I faced the man himself, Pablo Pintor, probably the best player in the room, in round 1 of day 2. Managed to, by the skin of my teeth, get past him, and that was the thing that made me go like, if I can beat this guy, like, come on, I can beat anyone, surely.
You can do it. You can do it.
And it was a great game. It
was super tight, man. Like, crazy tight. Literally, you made me play to the last card in that Swiss game.
So what was that clinch moment like, for that Swiss game that you guys played? What was it that helped you get over the line on that one?
I mean, the very last turn was the last 2 buffs in my deck on. I want to say it was a dominated arrow, right? I think that was what forced it through. So like you can't get much closer. Like, the only closer Azalea games I've ever had are those ones where you literally have no cards in your deck, and you flip the arrow onto the bottom and then flip it back in, and it has dominate, and you're like, bet you didn't know that's how that worked. Hope you don't have a D-react, and then you lose because they have a D-react anyway.
It was a very fun game, really back and forth. And but I believe Connor was in control because he still had a healthy life lead at that point, where he could just, if it wasn't that turn where he could dominate and send an 11 strength arrow at me or whatever, he could have done it like in the next turn or in 2 turns. And it was close, but he had it.
Yeah,
he had it.
Did you? Was it that feeling in that Swiss game that you go, I've got?
Yeah, he played really tight. He played really well on that game, and he mega punished me on my warmongers, and I learned my lesson, and I didn't play them on the finals.
There you go.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was something that I kind of only realized at the end of the finals. I was like, man, Pablo resolved all 3, I'm pretty sure. Maybe only 2 warmongers against me in the Swiss. And, like, saw that I had the Rabbles and the tech, and, like, just being the, like, adaptive kind of force that he is, went, warmongers is bad. I'll simply win without it. Like, that's nuts to me, because it's such a hard counter to Azalea. But, I mean, it's just really testament to how strong Long Draw Half Glove is. It's basically, like, skip your first warmongers, and the warmongers can lose so much tempo depending on when you play it. So like, it does make sense to avoid it. Like,
keep saying those words. Keep saying, don't put warmongers in your deck. Continue this. Continue this trend. Everyone.
This visceral propaganda.
Well, anyway. Well. So I'll just continue with yourself. Kind of like is Azalea always been that pick you were? Like, why Azalea for Calling Lyon?
So it was a meta call.
Yeah.
I do have a team that I actually feel really bad. I didn't shout them out almost at all in the interview. It didn't really come up
Well, now's your
with Baz,
chance.
but I've yeah, exactly. I've been a member of Team Tryshot
Yeah.
for a little while. And I did a small amount of testing. Now I'm murder for not doing online testing. I'm a guy that's got to get like the tactile feel. I have to play in paper
Yeah.
to really like nail things down. But I did do a little bit of online testing into the new heroes and into what we thought would be meta with the guys. And Azalea was rolling the new heroes, like especially the lightning heroes. Now, obviously, these were kind of prototype builds. They weren't quite as polished as what I would have seen at the calling. And also the Enigma matchup just seemed fantastic, and that was like the boogeyman that everyone was worried about. So that's what made me pick her. Um, but I also picked her for Pro Tour Amsterdam and the calling at Amsterdam, and I actually did fairly badly, if I'm going to be honest. I went like
Right.
2-2 in CC at the Pro Tour and then 2-3 at the calling. So if anything, my confidence in my ability to be that guy that like ekes out the extra points of value as Azalea and wins the games was at an all-time low going into this event. So it's like that much more crazy to me that things worked out the way they did, you know?
Well, yeah, but it was a totally different meta at that time as well. You know, full powered Zen. There's, hey, do you remember when everyone used to draw two cards? You know, all that sort of time is a completely different time. But you're there, your journey, you got all the way to the runner up. I mean, that's awesome, bro. Like honestly, it's so cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be over this one for a while. Like this is genuinely almost somewhat life changing for me. Like it's not like any ridiculous, like crazy prize money, like something with the Pro Tour where like you just like go fully pro or whatever. But it does mean that like a trip to Japan is on the cards, and
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go to Osaka. I'm probably going to play in Worlds. Like none of that was happening. I had so much like FOMO because there was friends going over, people I know from the international community and stuff, that I was like, man, these guys are going to have such a blast. And now I'm like, yo, it's only a month away, and I'm going all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh man, I'm so excited for Osaka.
That's amazing. I love to hear that. That is the sort of stories that I'm sure LSS that would, or if they are tuning into this, I just want to hear and see that, you know, this is it, more than anything giving you opportunities to see the world. I mean, just that alone is a thing.
And you didn't feel like you had this problem, but for most people, getting their first top eight is a really game changing thing
Yeah.
because you will face the next ones much more calmly. You will be much more relaxed because you have already been here, right? And I do think that it is a major step up as a player. You will face more confidently all these situations, all these top eight games, all these games on a stream or whatever. But I saw that you were pretty calm yourself during the day, so maybe you didn't need it.
I'm a little bit blown away by how kind of calm I actually was and how like it just felt like normal games. I have to give honestly like the biggest possible shout out to Baz the Bard, who was doing the kind of production for the stream, because I do have like a fairly good relationship with him. Like we've chatted at a good few events in the past and stuff. And having him sitting there next to me doing the life totals and that sort of stuff definitely made me feel a little bit more comfortable. But like I've been on stream once before when I was very new to Flesh and Blood. And it was a totally different experience. I had a tablet next to me and everything. It was all very kind of slapdash. It was like very small stream for a battle hardened in Belgium. And
Right.
I'd only been playing for like 2 months. And it like freaked me. I was like totally no idea what I was doing or whatever, and it was like such a wildly different experience on the stream with Baz. Like he did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made me feel really comfortable.
For it might I don't you may have, well, yeah, you must have sat next to Baz a couple of times, Pablo, through all your time streaming in Europe, and him and Alan from Tabletop 24 doing the production work. But for a lot of people in the UK and Ireland especially, like having like he's like a household name in our community, and it is just that feeling of okay, cool, like I'm not I'm with, you know what I mean? I'm with someone I know. You just like, yeah, I don't know. There's that feeling you get, and I know that from sitting next to him playing games. But also, I'll just tie in that your games that used to playing in the final, I very much felt that we were watching two people just enjoying playing. Not like, yes, there was a win, but I think I was watching this like at home, going like, you guys are just having fun, and that is like the best thing as a viewer to see, that you just see two people having a good time playing the game and accepting the, and you're playing the best you can play, if that makes sense. And when things happen, they happen, and you go, oh yeah, cool, good, yeah, good move, my turn. All that sort of stuff. It was really awesome to see. Now, Pablo, yourself, you're a nutter. Literally, I saw you win and just I Facebooked you and just went, I think I do this every time. Mad lad. Absolute mad lad. So, let's go. Your Enigma. Now, why? And now, it's not probably a hard question why, but what made you want to go for Enigma?
It's sad. I sold my soul to the illusionist class. I'm sorry for all my Guardian brothers out there. But yeah, nah, the fact is that Enigma is actually a pretty fun deck to play, at least to me.
Yeah.
I played her quite a lot when she came out in Pardemishville. But she had this kind of bad matchup, this hero Sen. Maybe you have heard talk of him.
Oh, he's old news.
So she was quite unplayable, at least for someone not so brave as I am, right? I wasn't feeling sure if I was bringing her to a big tournament like a Pro Tour or whatever, and I ended up playing a much more, focused deck as it was Riptide, because it was a deck that was really good against Sen at this moment.
Bro, that was so cool. I know we're talking about Pro Tour Lyon, but when I met up with you at Amsterdam, we were sitting down watching the fight, and you went, you said, you must see my deck, and I just saw it. I was like, the hell is this?
I was having an extremely good time each time I had to explain my cards to my opponents.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to play Enigma, and when we show this banner restricted list that crippled Sen, I said, okay, let's try her, and she was doing real good. And some of my cards that I wanted to play Florian, because Florian was my other choice, it's kind of like it has the best of both worlds. It's both a Runeblade and feels like a Guardian, right? But I didn't have my cards in time. He wasn't that good in our testing, so I just said, okay, I will just play Enigma. We started testing with her, and she was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
And she had a really solid matchup into any Count Your Blessings deck. I thought that there wouldn't be much of those decks, because I'm not a big fan of it, actually. But she was doing really well. And for once, I became a meta slave, as Connor said. And and I had to sell my soul. And hey, at least it was for a good reason, right?
Yeah. Look, right. I think
You
everyone...
didn't tarnish your reputation for nothing. You got a calling win out of it. I suppose we can forgive you.
Look, let's all forget, right? Pro Tour, win, chain, and then top 8 the next Pro Tour Viserai, and then you win with Kano in a team blitz. You then come runner-up with Bravo, and then you take Riptide to a Pro Tour.
Win with Oldhim.
There was Reinar in LA, right?
Reinar in LA. And now, so when people go, Guardian, I'm like, bro, this guy's literally playing every character on like on the Street Fighter roster list, and he's going, all right, okay, I think I'm gonna be Ryu this game. You're like, okay, bro, and he's like, yeah, I've got the combos down. You're like, whoa, Jesus Christ!
You have to keep your opponents guessing.
Yeah.
What is your next move? Sadly, my best results can come from just playing the good deck, but. We will keep trying with rogue ones.
Yeah, that's it. So your journey, was it I am intrigued about Enigma. Is she we've lost Zen, but then I think I was sitting there through my sort of testing through playing with it. Because I took Enigma to nationals and I was playing around with her when she was released. Yeah, not a good choice because Zen is about, but she does sort of fall prey to these hyper aggro sort of decks, right? So Zen's gone. Aurora is now sort of the new kid on the block that's being the aggro hero. What was your thoughts on Aurora coming into this? Were you feeling pretty comfortable?
No.
No.
No,
Sweet.
Aurora is actually a pretty rough matchup for Enigma. It's not unwinnable by any means. You've got my game with Bartosz on the stream, and it was really close. And we both didn't draw our power cards, and there was still a game to be played in there, a really interesting one. But it is not as bad as Sen was during its height, but it is a really rough matchup. And because she's sending so many breakpoints, strength 4 breakpoints with arcane damage and whatever, so keeping up your board is really hard. Phantasmal Footsteps is great in there, but it is sadly not enough, and it can die to a landing press pretty early to the game. And I do think that there's another really bad matchup coming up in the future, and we're talking about Dash.io.
Yeah.
I think that it will be a force to be reckoned once her armory deck drops, and I am actually pretty afraid. She smells like tier 0 deck.
Oh.
We'll see, but
We'll see.
free card draw seems good.
Yeah, that. I thought they did a whole thing about it, and they just went, "This one's coming," but we'll see what happens. I think what that developer talk was quite interesting, actually, just to sort of tie into a little point you were saying, that the actual the actual card, I can't actually remember its name, the one that draws the card. That's actually not too crazy.
Cerebellum Professor.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, it's that.
I think Cerebellum is right anyway.
yeah, that's it, Cerebellum. But it's more the high octane that's actually the naughty card, if that makes sense. So it'd be interesting to see whether they will. I reckon they'll let this slide for Worlds, and then go, all right, okay, cool. if this is obscene, we'll ban it. But kind of give us, before we just to sort of wrap up calling Lyon, what was the highlight game throughout the whole tournament? I'm sure you'll probably say, and you're not allowed to say the finals, just because I know that was the finals was definitely, the finals is a given because we all saw it's awesome. But that one game you had in Swiss that was like, oh bro, that was sick. I love that.
The finals was borderline traumatizing. I drew like 8 buffs in a row. What do you mean?
You picked that. You put those cards in your deck.
Yeah, no, of course. And listen, I've been saying it. I've had a lot of people, like, there were so many people commiserating me and stuff because they were watching the stream on the day, being like, "Oh, you were so unlucky, man, with the like blind flip." And I'm like, fair enough. Like, I do think I was like odds on very likely to hit an arrow given the contents of my deck. There was maybe like 3 or 4 buffs left and 1 knock, and the rest was all arrows. And now I would have had to get lucky to kill Pablo anyway. It turns out his hand was all just blocking cards. So I would have been that side of lucky, but then I hit the buff. And what I was saying to people is, I'm like, listen, guys, like, you need to understand how much luck I had and how well my deck performed to get me to that final. Like, if it was going to fail me at some point this weekend, holy crap, am I glad that it failed me against one of the best players in the world in front of thousands of people in the final match of the weekend.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not upset about it at all.
No.
Like, I couldn't be more over it, you know? And, like, Pablo played so incredibly well in that final that, like, I would have felt like I was robbing him. Like, I think Scott said it in the commentary where he was like, "Connor's gonna try and steal a win here," when I was doing my little drum roll on the table, and I was like, yeah, it would have been theft, daylight robbery.
Well, that's the game we played. But during the Swiss rounds or somewhere.
To answer your question, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Go.
So it actually wasn't a Swiss one. Now, if you want me to just say one that wasn't on stream, but it was definitely the one against Sammy in the semis.
Yeah.
I have to give a huge shout out to Sammy because We've got a bit of history, like a little bit of history. I only met him in May in Warsaw.
Right.
Um, but I went 6-1 calling. The first time I ever day 2 to calling was in Warsaw in May. I went 6-1. My
Yeah.
one was Sammy
Right.
on Prism. I was playing Kasai. He annihilated me. Then we saw each other again in Amsterdam. We hung out a bunch in Warsaw. We saw each other again in Amsterdam. We're super friendly.
Yeah.
And then I see him in Lyon on day 1, and he annihilates me. I once
Right.
again go 6-1. My
Nemes-
only
a
loss being
nemesis is
Sammy.
born.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, frenemy at worst because we get on like a house on fire.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I get to the semis and I'm like, all right, well, it was a good run. Like, it's so over. And I have genuinely some of the most fun I have ever had playing the game of Flesh and Blood. That where there happened to be some lights and cameras. You know, it was like I was playing with a close friend of mine in the pub or something, or at like the local game store.
Yeah, yeah.
We were so back and forth, so much laughter, so much fun, and I happened to win at the end, so that was great. But
Yeah, that helps.
like as soon as I got to that top 8, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I was like, all right, well, this is already it's the single most insane weekend of my entire life.
Yeah.
And anything beyond like top 8 prizing, which is already nuts, is like gravy. So I was just trying to enjoy it, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yourself, Pablo, the game that probably no one knew that was like a highlight favorite for you.
My favorite game of the weekend was actually my first game,
Yeah.
where I sat down and I saw that I was playing against Tekla Boston, and I said, okay, sorry for the guy who was an extremely cool, but that is not a real matchup. Enigma is very good against slower decks.
Yeah. Was it a count your blessings?
So, no, it
Oh.
was just he was boosting, but it's a really rough matchup, and I am known for losing my first round in each tournament. So for a change, winning the first one without switching too much was really cool because it was like a really quick match. Sadly for him, as I said, it is close to a 95% for Enigma. So being able to finish that game in like 15-20 minutes and get up and get something to drink, it was like a really nice change of pace for me, right?
That is true.
And on the finals game, I remember a really fun thing that also happened is that when you missed your turn and you did an attack on turn 1 because you had like 4 buffs, I was like, yes, I'm going to take tempo from here, and I had 4 cheese. Ended up doing nothing.
Yeah, that was a huge sigh of relief for me, where I was like, "Oh, it's so over already." And then you just like attacked for like 4, and I was like, "All right, I can afford to risk 4 on me hitting an arrow. Like I have to hit an arrow."
It was like no disruption. My arsenal was the Chagra, right? The one that prevents 3 damage, and my hand was like really bad, and I ended up attacking for 5 or something like that with no disruption, and I was like, okay, blame because he didn't do anything, but this is not going well. I was like, yes, this is my chance. Well, no, it isn't. Let's pitch this card to Woods without doing anything. I really like
the classic finals staring contest where we're both like, I swear my deck works better than this. It did better things on the way to the finals, guys. I promise. It's just got performance anxiety.
I promised to the people at home, because I played 2 games on the stream and they didn't see it. I am ruining Mira guys in my deck. I really am ruining them, but I just don't like to play them. They feel unfair. I want to have like a good competition with my opponent. I don't want to give him too much value on a single Morkmire.
Yeah.
I will say that, listen, that was a genius tactical decision, because there was a point in the game where I got like incredibly hard punished for not fetching the 3rd Murkmire out of my deck, because you did like some illusionist like crazy nonsense to cover a 10 dominated endless arrow, and I was like, the reason I made that decision in my head is I was like, I haven't seen a single mirror guy. I don't think I want to disable my ability to dominate a Murkmire grapnel, because you resolving a mirror guy is a very easy way for me to lose the game. It's like normally the way I've lost, if I've ever lost as Azalea into Enigma. So yeah, not playing them
You
turns
did
out was the play.
wait. You didn't play them.
I really don't remember. Maybe to block something.
Oh. No,
I
If
don't
I
think in the
put one of them,
final. I don't think you resolved one in the final.
yeah,
so
I
they're
don't
in,
think
but they're in
so.
the deck though.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
thank
think so.
God!
Yeah, I did.
I was
Yeah.
like there thinking, is this some sort of like deep? I was like, bro, you took him out. Like,
It would be
go again.
unfair. Like he said, like he
Yeah,
wanted to give me
okay.
a chance. Come on, Hamish.
You
Did
got
you
me.
see the accolades on the stream? I've made this joke to so many people at home, being like, "Did you guys watch the final where it was like Connor has top aided
Oh,
the Blitz
yeah.
battle hardened in Birmingham, and Pablo has won everything."
It felt very
That was
much. It felt very much
that
like the
was
English.
get everyone at home on your side.
Ah. This felt very much like the World Cup, the Euros final with England versus. Look how amazing these guys are versus that. No, I'm joking. Right, let's go. Let's talk the future. Right, so we kicked off this Rosetta meta with calling Lyon. Now we've got the Pro Quests coming up before we hit Worlds, right? We're going to get some boogeymen things out of the way, right? Twitter's going a little bit silly billy on Count Your Blessings, right? I've experienced it today, right? I experienced it with my Viscerai deck. I'm playing up against the new, and then he just does the first Count Your Blessings, and I went, okay, let's see what all the fuss is about. Yeah, it is kind of annoying, not going to lie. It is when I'm like, oh, bro, got him to 9, and then he healed for 30 or something ridiculous, and you're like, right, okay, this is annoying. I can see why people are genuinely going to be quite frustrated with this. I immediately figured out there's counters to this. Like, this is not hard. You can just even every hero can just throw some cards in, and he can actually sort this out. But in terms of a Pro Quest meta. Count Your Blessings, Connor. What's your sort of initial thoughts on this? Is this going to be a bit of a? This is local meta stuff. This isn't Pro Tours or callings. This is now people rocking up to stores. Is this going to be a thing?
I don't think so in Ireland anyway. Possibly because I've
Sure.
made my strong opinions on it very known. I personally think now I understand that it's a weird one where it's almost like a gatekeeping kind of strategy where there are certain strategies that are susceptible to it because they're aggressive strategies that don't necessarily win through on hits, they just win through raw damage.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the decks that can potentially get more fatigued by it. But like I was talking to a lot of people in Lyon saying like, oh, my Enigma matchup is great as Azalea. There was a load of people like fighting back against that. Mostly, obviously, Enigma players because they were like, "No, I always win against Cecilia," and I was like, "Okay, whatever. We're not going to talk about this. Just let's just see how the weekend goes."
Yeah.
And it went pretty well. But the one thing that they kept being like is, "Oh, but surely you lose to CYB Enigma," and now I cannot stress enough that I do not mean any disrespect to Vietfam when I say this, but the game against him was my easiest of the weekend. Now I did draw like my deck was on literal flames. Like I it was crazy as a draw. But he was playing Enigma, but instead of the things that gain him life also dealing me damage and providing pressure, he was just gaining life. And he had a bunch of non-blocks in his deck. So like if you're worried about CYB in general, I think Azalea is going to be fantastic into it because she gets so much value, so much more value from hitting than a lot of other decks. Where, like, there are some decks where if you gain the amount of life back as if you blocked, then it's the same thing. But that's not the case with Azalea because I probably gave you an Inertia and a Bloodrot Pox and maybe like a Remorseless or whatever. So I personally, as an Azalea player, I'm not that worried about Count Your Blessings,
Mm-hmm.
but I can definitely see the problems for it, like as a potentially gatekeeping card for other strategies.
Sure. When yourself, Pablo, you've played Enigma and you've seen Enigmas running around with Count Your Blessings in your deck. Give us your thoughts.
I do think that it just makes any deck where you're playing Count Your Blessings an extreme GM roulette deck, right? So it transforms your matchups either into auto wins or auto loses. And there is not much in between, right? If the deck that is in front of you can interact with your late game, because I believe that the best Count Your Blessings deck right now is Enigma, because she's able to do 8 points of value between blocking and attacking in the late game without losing any cards, right? She's doing that with Heart of Fiendel, Phantasma Footsteps, and Chuchis. So she's doing so much value at the end of the game, where there's a lot of decks that just cannot keep up with it, right? You're healing and defending for the whole game, and then you do that really stupid end game, and it is not fun. But then there's decks that just run over you. Decks like Enigmas that are more tech for the mirror, right? That was a pretty easy matchup for me during the weekend, because Enigma is really prepared to destroy another Enigma that is not so good at creating and maintaining a board.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I do think that while it might not be a problem like for the competitive game, as there is a lot of counterplay and tech cards that you could include to fight it, I do think for locals it will probably be really, really boring. You know, like, so, hey, I'm here and I want to test some games with my Kasai, and then they show up with a Count Your Blessings deck, and you're like, please, please.
It's kind
that
of
hurt me
polarizing.
particularly, because Kasai is a special place in my heart, and I would despise that so much.
Okay, so do you think it will? So do you think it will genuinely impact the ProQuest fun of it? But I'm intrigued to see if they actually win.
I mean, I'm happy that we have like different winning strategies that aren't like just throw your whole hand attacking each turn, because it seems like the game has been at that place for quite some time, right? Since KO dropped, I believe that we have been in really aggressive meta games where the decks actively don't want to block, right? The block on equipment has gone up, so they can still fight the disruption with how much equipment there is nowadays in every deck. But it feels like they don't want to actively block, right? As Leah doesn't want to block as much as long as she doesn't have like extra arrows in her hand, she doesn't want to block. Kayo doesn't want to block. So it feels good to have decks that have different approaches to winning the game. But this particular strategy feels a little bit too, I don't know how to say it, but like you're playing a solitaire game, right? Like you're just doing your thing and hoping that the person in front of you has not. This is a damage check from League of Legends. Right? You're playing against Doctor Mundo, and if you don't have enough damage, you're not winning the lane, right? So this feels kind of the same. Like it is healing this amount of damage. Are you able to do something about this healing? If you're not this tall, you cannot be on this ride.
Get on the ride.
If it, when you play, it's like that. What's it? The Talishar AI dummy. I'll go right.
Oh,
yeah. Here's the health. Win. And you're like, oh.
It kind of feels like that, and I don't think it is particularly fun. No. But I like different approaches to winning the game.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, right. So apart from Count Your Blessings, where do you see, Pablo, the sort of how is this meta sort of shaping out and forming? Are we still very much in a really big open season of experimenting with stuff, or are we coming to the point where we've got these heroes and everyone else has got to somehow deal with them?
I mean, it always happens with the aggressive decks. There is always one.
There's always one
little bit faster aggressive deck that is the best choice, right? And Azalia, who works on a different axis because she has access to a lot of disruption. So I do think that Azalia is in an awesome spot right now. She's probably the best she has ever been. Enigma is, of course, a force to be reckoned in this meta. She had like 4 players with her on top 8, I believe.
Yeah.
And Aurora is a really good counter to Enigma. She does not as well against Aslia. She can win, but it is not a really easy matchup for her. And I do think that Dasaya will change this quite a bit. But sadly, it feels like the other decks are a little bit behind, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
okay.
would be happy because Earth Heroes are not bad. Viscerai is still a pretty solid deck. And I like how Brody Spurlock took Viscerai for a different like spin of the deck building, and I really like what he did there. I need to test that deck a little bit.
You definitely should. Right. I will say that I've not to sort of take over this a little bit, but I can give you my insight of the rune blades, okay? Right. So when Rosetta was coming out, I fell for the trap. I went straight into the trapdoor of Meridian Skies. And it sucked. It was like this. Not only am I this sucks, I'm bored. I've done this a billion times. Played this up against Nigma, against Rob Catton and his team, and I just kept continually getting fatigued. And I was like, this is garbage. Viscerai doesn't work. And then running through this torment for a little bit longer. And then, I was sort of thinking, okay, maybe Sky sucks. Million Skies kind of sucks as a card. So I didn't get to where Brody got to, but I was getting to this point where I was like, I think we just need more copies of Maleficent Incantations. We've got Rune Flashes, we've got this, but it wasn't getting to that. I was sort of mucking around with some other stuff. But anyway, long story short, Brody got there, right? And he delivered on that deck, and I went, okay, we're cooking, boys. We are cooking with fire. And Malefic Incantation is a silly card. It's a silly card, especially when you just go, Mordred Tide. Now I know you thought Mordred Tide was pretty silly with Viscerai's hero ability, right? Ooh. But what if Viscerai ability, then Viscerai's ability, and you go, right, okay. These attacks are kind of like, that's not really your issue. It's these hundreds of rune chances coming at you. You're kind of going, I can block you. And you're like, your armor is not my concern. It's you better have
there's another big thing with that one as well, right? Is it was actually something that I was talking to with the team and with Ian only earlier today, where one of our teammates was like, Warmongers is like way less good into Viscerai than it used to be, and I was like, Cap, he's the guy that plays the non-attacks and then plays attacks. And then they went like, no, what do you mean? If he's got like 3 of those in play and attacks with
Raven
Storming or the new one, what was the new one called again?
Raven.
Rune Major Swarm. That's it.
Yeah, it's some Runeblade card. I don't know. It gets go again basically, but like it does the same thing where, kind of like what Long Draw does for Azalea, where it's like you're not getting a full power turn through the Warmongers. Like no way. The card still does something, but like if you can get like 8 or 10 and they've used a whole card to just stymie your turn by that little bit, then like you can play through it pretty well. So like, once again, Warmongers is a bad card. You shouldn't play it.
Warmongers is a bad card. You shouldn't play it. You should take this out of your deck. Although I don't want to tell everybody, I don't want to tell these Enigma players that, Ripple Away, right? That card. We don't.
Very good in the final too.
Ripple Away is a card, especially when you got Malefic Incantation down. You go, okay, guess you're getting none of them. Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, that card's a thing. But in short, I think that the Runeblade class, I don't, you people, everyone's going to come at me, right? Come at me. I don't care. Aurora doesn't count. I don't count her as a Runeblade, right? It doesn't.
What about Florian?
Yeah, he does. He's cool. Yeah, Florian cool.
Oh, well, he's cool, but he's more like a guardian. I will say,
No. His hero ability specifically says Mordred Tide, right?
Sure.
He says Mordred Tide. I'm like, sweet, you're making rune chants. We're cool. Aurora, she's just sitting there going, being kind of like Briar, where it's like, it just doesn't feel like a rune blade at all. You're just coming in for 7, and then you go, "I do on arcane." Where's your rune blade? Where's your rune chance, bro? And you're like, yeah. But that's a lot. But I think that heroes like Viscerai are not. I think that the ProQuest meta is going. Viscerai is actually going to do some stuff to potentially shake up what people think is the trifecta meta of Enigma, Aurora, and Azalea. I think he's going to be doing things. And what makes it kind of interesting is that he isn't like he's not like the, oh my god, this is obscene. He's just gonna, I feel like he's gonna come in subtly and actually go and basically do what Brody did at calling Lyon, where I think everyone's just going to look at this and go, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to be a Skies deck, and he just goes and just does all this stuff, and you're like, holy moly, how am I actually going to get around this? Okay, I guess I'll just take this arcane damage, and you coming in for 1 with your blue Rune Ranger Swarm, and you go, all right, okay, cool, succumb. And you go, oh, what?
It's a deck that genuinely, like, I haven't gotten anywhere near enough testing into, and I'm really glad I didn't see it in Lyon, because like seeing the 2 new cards, Snuff Out and Succumb, I'm like they gave this dude this guy that deals like a bajillion damage. They gave this guy interaction that can like take the arrow out of my hand. Like, what the hell is this? This is nonsense. And like I'm just not really able to block properly and stuff. So it is actually one that I'm kind of scared of as Azalea, but also like he's still fairly susceptible to a good old red in the ledger. So I'm sure we'll get there in the end.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What about you, Connor? Like, I think Pablo's first sort of assessment on this is definitely like correct on the Enigma and Aurora for sure. I think Azalea's always just been kind of that lurker, always has been, always will be. But is there any sort of counterpoint that you've got to what you think the meta might look like for ProQuest season, or is it fairly on line with Pablo?
Like the thing with ProQuests is always like, because it's not a huge event, it's not like the thing you actually qualify for. It's not like the Pro Tour where the meta is like super refined. People are going to play what they want to play, like, and some people will find success with that, and it'll depend on kind of matchups and stuff. Like, one that I think we could see do honestly fairly well potentially is New, just as long as she can avoid the Enigmas, because Enigma's horrible, but I think that she'll do great into Aurora. She's pretty decent into Azalea, and she's also going to be good into Dash.io once that deck is like fully online. So that'll be my kind of like I don't know, sneaky underdog pick. Like, as if a New can either feel like maybe at least 45-55 into Enigma, or just dodge it, then she's got a pretty good matchup spread elsewhere. Maybe Florian, a bit dodgy. You fill their banish zone for free, but I could see New doing some cool things.
Okay, so so it seems like Aurora is it's not surprising, I don't think, to see her as the hero from Rosetta that's come running out the gates with her new sort of this insane amount of like card draw that she can sort of generate. But
I believe it's not that she's the best deck but
it's the aggro, isn't it? You can just see when you saw the cards, you go, okay, numbers are going everywhere and card draw everywhere. Yeah, you can see she's running out of this really well.
It's just that she's the best into this metagame. But I do think that Florian and Verdance are really, really powerful heroes that sadly get hosted by Enigma.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Fair enough. So do you think Enigma is literally the only reason that's put in the Earth Heroes? And
I do think that Florian would be a powerhouse in this meta, if not.
Yeah, that's fair.
I could see it as well. I would agree with that assessment. He does some really powerful things. Like the Earth Majestics are just fundamentally powerful. Like just uninteractable interaction in general is like, oh man, it's so nuts in this game. Like it really does just operate on a totally different axis to how the game normally functions, where like you've got this whole tempo based system. It's all about like, you send your disruption, they give you a couple cards or whatever, but like Felling is like, no, you just get one less card. That's just your life now. Like you don't get a choice. It's just we're here now. You have 3 cards instead of 4, and that's nuts.
My best way to put into context how powerful Felling of the Crown is that when it is in my discard, I am happy if they play a Codex of Frailty.
Yeah. Oh,
That,
yeah.
that is all I have to say about that.
They do also have the Codex thing, right? Like they have that oh so important Codex of Frailty style effect where it's like, oh, it's okay, it's symmetrical, guys. Like it's fair, and it's like, yeah, but what if it wasn't though? Like, what if I just don't have an extra card in hand or a card in my arsenal? then it's not fair anymore.
It's even Plow Unders is such a. I find Felling a really annoying card, but there's something about it when it happens that I can. Maybe it's just the sort of heroes I play. I can sort of just still look at my hand and construct. I mean, maybe this is me being a rune-based player more than anything. That I can just look at my hand and go, okay, I think I can do something because I've just got more cards. But something about Plow Under that goes, you know what? I have put this card in Arsenal because it's going to do this not so thing later. And then you go, no. Oh, come on, bro.
Yeah, you get too attached, Hamish. You gotta learn to let go of things.
It's where I put my revel. It's where Mordred Tide goes. Don't take that stuff away from me.
Like, so the thing is, and it's something that I had in my mind the entire time I was playing against Verdance. Like, if you watch the game, you'll notice it. I just didn't play off my arsenal. The same way as against like KO a lot of the time, Azalea doesn't play off arsenal anywhere near as much because they just have 6 cards that go screw you and your arsenal, and you play into those if you arsenal cards, but obviously not playing off an arsenal is also playing into their hands because you're not going to have that parity breaking 5 card hand into their 4 cards to push over and their ultimately defensive decks. But Azalea still kind of gets the 5 card hand with the Death Dealer draw, and especially if you do it off Tunic and stuff. So like I definitely think that Azalea has the tools to combat what they're doing by just again not playing off of arsenal, and there are other heroes that can do that, but certainly like the likes of Runeblades and Ninjas where they don't have that kind of linear card scaling where like Azalea's hand gets 3 better by having an extra buff in it, whereas like Runeblades and Ninjas go from like, yeah, my 5 card hand is like 35 damage to like my 4 card hand is like 16 or whatever, So like it's more powerful against some decks than it is against others, but it is definitely fundamentally very strong.
Okay, and we're gonna before my final point is to sort of end this off with Osaka, but before I get there, Wizards, right? The Acilio, I don't think that's going to be a rocket science to go. This is not cutting it even in the slightest. It just looks like an Aurora deck, to be honest, with different stuff.
Or less health.
Yeah, pretty much, and no means to block. Verdance though.
Way more non-blocks, yeah.
Verdance though. I had hopes. Am I missing something, Pablo?
No. I don't think she's actually pretty fine. She's actually a pretty fine deck.
Yeah.
Like she has access to the really powerful Earth Majestics that we were talking about and the really powerful Earth chess piece. And
we are talking about CC, right? Not the Living Legend format. That's like a
she's fixed in that. It's fine. It's like it never happened.
I'm happy because we were already discussing what we were going to play on the team event, and it was like, if this is playable into the event, this is not going to be a real event at all, right?
Yeah.
It was going to be burdens on one team defeats anything on the other team, burdens on the other team defeats anything on the first team.
Just play Prism.
Just play one game, right? So
play
only one real game.
Well, play Prism, right? Natural counter. Not joking.
No,
No, I'm
no.
joking.
Sadly, there was no natural counter to that. That was extremely broken.
Yeah.
But I think that Verdansk has a spot on the game. Like her combo is really strong, and she has access to some powerful tools to fight. So I do think that this is a pretty cool deck.
Yeah. Okay.
I think she might be in that kind of position that Enigma was in, where everyone was looking at Enigma being like, "Oh, I'm so scared. It's the Zen meta. I'm gonna be so useless." And everyone was kind of secretly in the back of their head like, "Zen's gonna get like kneecapped, and Enigma's gonna be so annoying." And I think that Verdance is kind of in that spot as well, potentially, where like there's gonna come a time where that deck is going to be a problem. And I don't mean a problem in terms of like being unbalanced, but in terms of like it's gonna give people some headaches and be like really powerful, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. It's just that weird space that they sit, don't they? That they just go, we deal with this way of playing in such a way that is actually like, oh, well, I can't do anything about this. And when that time comes, it's like, oh, what the hell? Just like you're right with Enigma. And then I'll end this off, man. Kano, right? Kano's got his books burnt and binned, went to the tip, it's gone. They're gone forever, right? But is he still in this fight? Is he still very much in this fight of like, no, you should still be worried?
Sadly, yes.
Sadly, yes.
It also brings me great sadness to agree with Pablo. I cannot describe how much I hate that hero.
Oh, okay. It is absolutely like you imagine the books weren't gone. I saw these cards, you just would have went, this is beyond a joke. But obviously they're not.
It wouldn't even be the start of our problems though as well, like with Aurora and like Toma Fiendal and stuff. Like God, I cannot describe my name in the Irish Fab Discord since the bans has been I heart literacy bans, book emoji, fire emoji, because like, oh my God, it's like what a decision. It takes like so much for them to just go, you know what, no, we're literally throwing away the book on this one. Here's all these staples, they're in the bin, it's for the health of the game. And like they couldn't have been more right. Like I was genuinely at like an all-time low for my love of Flesh and Blood during the Zen meta. And I think that's where a lot of people were, like a lot of people that like the like fundamentals of Fab, where it's the back and forth and whatnot. And as soon as those cards got banned, I was like, yo, we're so back. This is so great.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
And a lot of people didn't realize at that moment because it feels like Zen and Kano were the most effective heroes with this ban. They really like that they addressed the Tome of Divinity in Prism because her ability to just high roll a game by using the headpiece, the halo, to put one card on their soul, search for the draw 2 angel, draw 2, then Divinity, then Divinity, then Divinity, then play for auras in the. It was not something that I would like to see in the game, right? It doesn't feel like they earned the ability to develop that board in a single turn. Like they haven't done anything to lead to that point. So I'm happy that these like more degenerate strategies are getting checked. Because it kind of felt, and I was also at an all-time low with my love for the game during the Misspell meta, because it felt like all of the decks wanted to do the broken thing at some point in their game plan, and
they really addressed it super well in the article. Like genuinely one of the best things I've read in years, where like they had their finger on the pulse so well. And like James White or Brian, I can't remember who wrote the article, but kind of breaking down it was James. I thought it was James. Breaking down the whole thing of like, these are the core tenets of Fab. And I'm just reading through them and I'm like, man, I can't be more with you, dude. Like, this is exactly what I want from this game. And we're so back. Yeah, Fab is in such a good spot right now.
When I saw the dev talk, I think it really actually made you sort of go, I like James White for me just felt like he just felt like not like a customer. When he was saying this bit, he said, "Oh, I'd watch the callings, I'd watch the Pro Tour, and I sat at home, and the second I saw Zen, he went, yeah, I turned this off. I was like, this is boring. I am so bored. The second I saw like, oh, there's a Prism game going off, and like you said, Pablo, just Tone of Divinity. It's like, this is rubbish. And it's how brave to me. I was like, this is your game, and you're literally saying your game is not that fun. Like watching this go off is just not fun. To go back then and just go, this is this is not great.
There's rot and we need to fix it.
Yeah,
it's exactly what they did.
I loved it. Now, just to sort of bring this back around on the Kano thing, just to sort of finish this little bit off. Why is he still in? What is he got? What is happening? Is it just these new cards that he's got? Open the floodgates, I imagine. Is doing. What is the what? Why is he still pulling in, Pablo?
I do think that there's, so much things to love.
Ah, okay.
And
Wildfire.
But yeah, I really, really fell in love with how this game allows you to recover from losing positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it allows you so much space to come back from, you're down 20 life, but you pitch stack this, or you were careful with how you were playing your early game, and then you can come back, crawl into your position in the game.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like that when we had all of these haymaker cards that allowed you to draw so much in a single turn and do these broken things.
So
right?
my question was about like why is Kano, who's lost all of this draw power,
I understood that.
Oh.
I understood that when both us back to play the game. Sorry.
Right, yeah, right.
No. With Kano, why is Kano still?
Yeah, why is Kano still in the fight despite the fact that he's lost some of his most powerful tools?
Because they banned the books, but they released this spell that if you deal more damage than you
open the floodgates.
Yeah,
they released a damage book.
Right. It still creates these awkward points in the game where if they go off and find several blues while drawing and whatever, they will just kill you on the spot, right? Yeah. And that's the same that happened with the books earlier. At least it is much more difficult for them to pitch a stack this than it was books. So I'm happy how they addressed that. But I don't think that the problem is fully solved, right? Like, fundamentally, Kano is not playing Flesh and Blood.
No, he never was.
He never was, yeah. And I do think the game will be better once he's gone. And I say this with all the respect I have in my heart for all the Kano players, which are fantastical and phenomenal players, but I don't think that showing up to a tournament, sitting down, and having your opponent high roll and kill you on turn 0 is a good experience for anyone. No. Like one of the Spanish guys on this calling got killed on turn 1. Right. Like Kano started the game, he just played an E-pot or something like that, Arsenal, and then this guy just attacked and died. The attack never got to result. I don't think, and he was playing AB3 and everything, just that the Kano tried to activate some Kanos, found the right cards on the top of his deck and killed him. Yeah. On the spot, 40 life. I don't think that is something that you want out of your game. I do think that other wizards have had like a more fair approach to playing things on your turn. Yeah. Even if Icelander was broken for other things, at least you didn't feel like you were robbed out of the game at some point.
I hear you. Icelander was... I loved Icelander's play pattern. I loved that. I can do something on your turn, and it was just the ice. It was just a bit... Okay, it's just the ice that is the crazy bit, but I love the fact that if I just play a blue from my arsenal and it's on your turn, there's something about that. And when you just do an E-pot, you feel like, this feels so good to just go E-pot on your turn. This is nice. And there's a value to it.
The difference is that Icelander was so fundamentally flesh and blood while being so abstract. Like, it was a super non-linear deck, but it's in the same way that, like, You can ask any Irish player. I'm a certified illusionist hater for a long time.
Yeah.
But Enigma feels much closer to a Flesh and Blood deck than the other two did. Similarly, Icelander was like leagues closer to a Flesh and Blood deck than Kano was, because like testament to the fact that this is so true is the fact that Michael Hamilton innovated on the deck by putting in two like Welcome to Wraith generic attacks, and the deck was good because it was just numbers, and that's so fundamentally fab while still being this weird abstract thing. The only real kind of like that was bullshit moment was like when you get Storm Striders, like that kind of sucked, but it was realistically the glue that held it together. But like Icelander was ultimately good. It was just hard to get the perfect balance where she was actually fair. But Kano just does fundamentally unfair stuff. He like I couldn't agree more with Pablo that the game will be better for him being gone. But we do need to address the fact that you're talking to someone whose favorite class is Warrior and someone whose favorite class is Guardian, and we have seen 1,000 times. We've sat there for 40 minutes and watched the Kano go, yeah, block you, put a card on the bottom, block you, put a card on the bottom, and then die at some point. So like we're definitely a couple of Kano haters, I'd imagine.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's finish this off. Let's wrap this up. So, Osaka, right? This is going to be way out there because we've got a Dash IO Armory deck coming up. We've got potentially, maybe, some Living Legend points getting thrown out. Could shake things up. I don't know how much the Living Legend stuff may shake up a lot, because I think there's going to be a lot of points being distributed across multiple heroes. And the only thing is maybe Dash Inventor Extraordinaire might go, but I don't think that's actually going to change much. Pablo, give us your thoughts. If you're going to have to put a winner, a hero, that if you're going to, if you do, it's a, don't worry, I'm literally saying throw this dart and get a bullseye in the dark. Try, and then you never know. But if you're going to make a bet, what would you put that hero down as the winner of Worlds Osaka?
I will start off by saying that I am really bad at predicting.
Yo, don't worry.
Things in
Don't worry.
metagame. Really bad.
Yeah, that's
once
fine.
I say a hero, that hero will not make top 8.
All right. Okay.
We're all clear on that one, right?
Don't say Zelia. Please don't say Zelia.
I know. I really think that if we see a lot of Dash IO coming into the game and doing great, and we see these Auroras also doing better and keeping Enigma on check, right? Maybe it is Azalea's time to shine. And I have thought that she's
I thought you were joking.
one of the best.
No, you're doing it. I told you not to do it.
No, but seriously, it's Azalea.
Yeah, truly. I believe that deck is extremely powerful. And the only thing that makes that not so much people play it is the cost of having a playset of Codex of Frailty. Yeah. But I do expect people going to Worlds to have their playset, so I do expect a lot of Azaleas in there.
Okay, right. Okay, Connor. Right, get one back and say, "Oh, I think it's Enigma." No, Jay. who would you?
I definitely don't think it's Enigma. Personally, I think Enigma has too many like weaknesses at the moment. Like we said, like I think she can get ran over by the aggro decks too effectively. Like, don't get me wrong, players of Pablo's level can definitely navigate the game states to potentially win those matchups sometimes, but also sometimes they're going to get run over. Like he lost to me in the Swiss, you know, like it's ultimately it's not something that they can really solve. Yeah. So I don't think it'll be Enigma. I do think Azalea's in a fantastic spot. Like mask off, Azalea is broken. Like she's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I will say that I don't think the Aurora matchup is quite as good as it looks on face value. There's a lot of times where Red in the Ledger doesn't do what you want it to do because they run instants that pump. So like you can sometimes Red in the Ledger them and they'll hit you for 10 anyway. I also had a game at an armory yesterday where there was a Channel Lightning Valley in play. Played a second Channel Lightning Valley, blocked for 3 on my 11 attack arrow with armor, and then Sigil of Suffering me twice for a 0 card 8. And I think I was actually, he was on 40 and I was on like 4. So like the deck does do some nuts things. Aurora is pretty scary.
Oh.
And honestly, like it's anyone's. It's any. Yeah, oh no. Like, please do feel sorry for me.
I don't
It was
know.
awful.
No. I'm sort of like looking at this like, you know, as if I've just heard the sickest breakdown. I'm going, oh, that's so disgusting and awesome. I don't worry. I am not an Azalea fan. For no
I
good
think
reason.
I'm going to make an off the wall prediction, and I am going to say that somebody like Shoma did in Amsterdam is going to put the correct tools in a disruptive mid range deck like New to take on these powerful aggressive decks, and that they could take to the World Championship. So I'm going to put New. I'm going to say New is going to win the World Championships.
Oh, okay, that's really cool. And I mean, that's what happened at the Pro Tour. You got to do some dodging, right? But it all depends on whether. I think Enigma is actually going to really. I agree with you guys. I don't think Enigma is going to be the one that's actually going to win it, but I think she's really going to heavily dictate kind of the swing of where things may land. Right. I do think that Aurora. You're right. That Aurora and Dash.io are going to be this hey guy, like hey Enigma, time to push you over. But it all depends on whether people will go. Do I feel confident I can deal with this enough still and still have this a mighty presence against this mid-range sort of approach? Or does the community and the competition feel that she really isn't there? Which will then open the floodgates for so many other heroes to go, cool, Dash.io and Aurora. Like, you're banking on Enigma. Like, it's weird, isn't it? These heroes need Enigma to curb stomp their worst matchups, but they curb stomp her. It's just this. It's this weird sort of flow.
Classic triangle meta setup, you know, like, but we just haven't seen the third prong of the triangle, which is again generally these disruptive decks. Now, Florian is another one. Maybe someone solves him in a similar position where like he can get his Enigma matchup enough under control that he's not going to just fold to a bunch of them. But like if you can find that sweet spot where the aggro decks are taking down all the Enigmas and you just blow right through them with your deck that's tooled to beat them, that like I could definitely see it happening.
Okay, that's cool. I'm just going to be this absolute nut job, but I don't think I'm actually smoking too much copium. But I'm with James White on this one. I'm going with my boy Viscerai. I think someone's going to come out. I think something's going to come out. Pablo's like,
I am making Viscerai win by saying this, but no.
Yeah. Okay.
Azalea won't be anywhere near the top 8, and Viscerai has officially won the World Championships, according to opposite day Pablo Pintor.
and I'm just gonna say, if that does happen, Pablo, I'm just gonna immediately tweet, "Told you." Right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Right, I'm going to give these little shout outs. Right, so Connor, you're on. What was your team name again? Team Trifet?
Tri-Shot.
Team Tri-Shot. Watch out for these guys. This is new. It is an upcoming team from Ireland heading over to all these callings over in Europe. So another team to keep your eye out. And if you haven't checked out Pablo Pintor's Patreon, you do some Patreon content as well as. Does that mix into coaching as well, or was that a separate thing?
Yeah, the main reason that drove me to start the project was coaching, and I thought that I had to offer something more, right? So there's this Discord and there's videos each month and everything, but. Yeah, don't want to advertise.
No, don't worry.
So much in here. No. I feel shy. If anyone wants to see it, they can check it out on my Twitter or whatever.
Go and check it out. Yeah. So I'll tag. Have you got a Twitter on your? Is your team got a Twitter account or anything?
Connor, my Twitter.
Oh no, yeah. Well, some Samurais do. What about Connor? Do you have a?
I'm not 100% sure if there's a team Twitter account.
Well, I'll throw up Connor. So go follow Connor, and I'll also.
If there's a team Twitter account, I'll tweet about it. I'm at Edge.
And I'll put down you can follow Pablo as well below as well on the descriptions, and as well I'll put a Patreon tag as well. If you want to check it out, go check out his Patreon content, or if you want to get coached by the man, the myth, Pablo Pintor, go check it out. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much, guys.
Me blush.
Yeah. Thank you very much. See you later.